What happens when the law looks the other way? That's the unforgettable question. After Mia's testimony alleged Diddy not only committed unthinkable acts, but also held sway over the LAPD itself. Could this power be his downfall? Let's dive into the case that's shaking Hollywood.
I have no idea how it's possible, and I'm sure Mia is probably, panicking in this moment in time. Like, are people stalking her on the internet, trying to figure out her identity? She testified that she was a rape victim, essentially. There's rape shield laws that exist to try to protect people in her position. And so this is really getting very nerve-wracking probably for her and just absurd for the courtroom.
Yeah, this testimony today was from a woman who was testifying under the name Mia. The judge said this is a pseudonym and that no one was to record her. They wanted to keep her anonymity. It was the deal with the prosecution. But she was talking about, she is a former assistant of Diddy's, and talked about a 2010 incident where Diddy and Cassie found out that Prince was having this private house party. Diddy didn't want to go. He was staying home and said that Cassie should not go. But Cassie was at home with Mia, and they talked about it and decided they were going to go. So they went to the party. She says they were having a great time watching Prince perform on a dining room table. And then suddenly she saw Diddy walk in and was terrified. And she grabbed Cassie, and she said they ran out of the party. They ran across the street. They are hiding in a wooded area behind some bushes. But Diddy found them and grabbed Cassie, she said, and started to assault her when suddenly one of Prince's security guards ran over there and had to pull Diddy off of Cassie, separate them, and that was the end of the violence for that particular evening. But the way she described it on the stand, it really sounded like a movie playing out, and you could really envision what was happening that night in 2010.
When Mia first stepped into the world of Diddy's inner circle, it felt like stepping into a dazzling, fast-paced dream. The lights, the music, the access to some of the most powerful names in the industry. It was everything she had imagined, and more. For someone eager to succeed, a job as Diddy's assistant seemed like the ultimate golden ticket. She was young, ambitious, and ready to prove she belonged in a realm that most people could only fantasize about. Diddy wasn't just an artist. He was a cultural force, a mogul who seemed to turn everything he touched into gold. Mia was drawn not just to the opportunity, but to him, the person who embodied everything she thought success could be. But scratch the surface, and the fantasy quickly faded. The excitement of working for Diddy didn't take long to be replaced with anxiety. From day one, the expectations were relentless. Tasks were never-ending, and there was no room for mistakes. The rules were unspoken, but she learned quickly that any misstep, no matter how small, was not taken lightly. Her phone had to be on 24/7. Even her meals were scheduled around his needs. Over time, she found herself giving up basic decisions she used to take for granted. What once felt like challenging work began to feel like survival. It wasn't just the workload that started to wear her down, though. Diddy had a presence that could shift from charming to intimidating in an instant, and she quickly noticed how that power played out in the way he treated people. There were moments she couldn't shake, like the time she watched him berate another assistant for not anticipating what he wanted before he even asked. She noticed how his mood could dictate the energy in an entire room. If he was happy, everyone around him seemed to exhale. If he wasn't, the tension was so thick it felt like everyone was holding their breath. This dynamic wasn't just about him as a boss, though. It was deeper, more invasive. According to Mia, he carefully monitored his employees' movements, asking where they were going and who they were talking to at all times. At first, it seemed like harmless curiosity from a man trying to run a tight ship. But it became more intrusive. Conversations started to lean into personal territory. He began suggesting how certain employees should dress or sanitize their social media presence, blending professional expectations with unsettling personal oversight. It was clear he thrived on controlling every aspect of his environment, and everyone in it. The turning point for Mia came during an evening she later called the night everything changed. She said Diddy insisted she accompany him to a private event, despite her protests about having prior commitments. That night, for the first time, she felt the weight of his influence as not just a boss, but someone who expected complete compliance. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. A simple look from him conveyed that her objections weren't just unwelcome, they were irrelevant. She went, and though nothing explicit happened in that moment, it left her questioning how far his control could push her. What had started as an aspiration to be part of something greater was beginning to feel like a trap. As she would later reveal, this was just the beginning of a much darker journey.
I don't think so. I think that would be like the best appeal point ever on the side of the defense. I think the case gets overturned because you're violating the confrontation clause. You know, you're taking away Diddy's right to confront his accuser, especially because she's already given all of the testimony that was apparently positive for the prosecution, and then cutting her off before even one question could be asked by or maybe not one, but you know, the full cross-examination be completed. I think it gets overturned.
What do you think the judge is going to do here? I mean, do you think the judge is first of all, can the judge order an investigation into this? And also, Tyler, do you think the judge is going to allow this piece of evidence in? If we're reading this correctly through the transcript, that this is a situation where she might be faking the way she's speaking on the stand, feels like relevant evidence for cross-examination, but at the same time, the way they're getting it and the issue of her identity being revealed, A, can the judge order some sort of investigation here? And B, you think he's going to allow this video in?
Well, it's probably 3 o'clock right now, or close to 2 o'clock. If I was the judge, which I'm not, I think this would be a good time.
If you're enjoying this story, kindly do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. It is free and won't cost anything, but it means the world to us. We're just a small channel trying to grow. Thank you, and back to the video.
Let's see what this video looks like. Let's see what the testimony will be given. What examination questions will be asked by the defense. Let's break for the day. And he'll make his ruling and start on Monday fresh, whether this video is going to be allowed in or not allowed in. I think that would be a good way for the court to explore, you know, the potential pitfalls here, see how the defense is going to authenticate this video. Now, regarding any additional protections for Mia, I think that the court and the parties involved in this case have appeared to do everything possible to protect her identity. But the fact of the matter is, this is a high profile case. People are watching this all across the country. And if you were to think that she would be on the stand giving facts about pictures with Cassie and being in South Africa, that people weren't looking on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, anywhere else on social media to try to put 2 and 2 together, that's hard to believe. So I'm not shocked that people have identified her, because I'm pretty sure people are on their phones right now trying to look into it. Yeah, they're not going to allow the video in. They're saying that there's been substantial social media posts already admitted into evidence showing that Mia has been in communications and contact with Mr. Combs, and that she said things like, "I love you, you're a mentor," and things of that nature. But it sounds like this video, the defense believes this is going to be some strong evidence. I'm pretty sure they're going to want their objections noted for the record, so this could be issued on appeal if this is highly prejudicial for Mr. Combs' case.
Well, Serena, I mean, it seems like they're saying we're using it for a different purpose. We're not trying to suggest, hey, she's making up the story because look at, you know, positive posts she's making about Sean Combs. But no, this video shows she's not talking the same affect that she is on the stand. So it seems, if I'm understanding correctly, they're trying to use this video for a different kind of impeachment.
I totally agree with you, and I think, not to assume too many things, but to me, this feels like the judge saying, you know what, I'm just going to say it's cumulative because we got to keep this trial going. We have Mia on the stand who's probably falling apart. I'm not going to want to bring her back on Monday. Finish her testimony, get her off the stand. Let's keep this trial moving at the right pace. And I do agree with you. I think that the judge is just making that decision to make that decision. I don't think it's actually cumulative.
You know, it's a great question. By the way, another update in court. Brian Steele, this is Sean Combs' defense counsel, one of them. Can I ask if she sent it? Can I ask if she sent it? The judge says yes. I'm going to ask about scrapbooks. The prosecutor and I have a disagreement. I have 3 copies, one for the jurors to pass around. The honorable prosecutor and I disagree. So it looks like a separate question. Here's a great question from Michelle LaBelle. Tyler, how does the public know how she's acting in court, which is different than usual if they're not allowed in court? So that makes me think now, the only people to know how she's actually testifying and the way that she's speaking are those who are in the courtroom. Now, I'm not making any conspiracy theories here, but that's a good question, right? Why would this video be circulating? Unless of course, someone found out her identity from the outside, just was circulating the video, and defense counsel said, wait a minute. The way she's talking in this video is very different than the way she's talking on the stand. Or the more ominous conspiracy theory is that someone in the court who knew the way she was speaking starts circulating the video online. I mean, I don't want to be engaging in conspiracy theories here, but it's a great question for Michelle LaBelle, no?
Yeah, it's a great question. But one thing that Mr. Combs' defense lawyer just said is, can I ask her if she sent it? Now, if they're referencing the video that he wants to ask her if she sent it, they must know who she sent the video to.
The courtroom went silent as Mia took the stand. Her voice was steady, but carried the weight of someone recounting deep personal pain. She detailed an evening years ago, during her job as an assistant, when everything she feared about her working environment became horrifyingly real. According to her testimony, Diddy summoned her to his private residence late at night. She said it wasn't unusual to be called at odd hours, but this time the request felt different. The demands, the pressure, it all blurred into an atmosphere where no was never an option. That night, Mia testified Diddy raped her. Describing the moments leading up to the assault, Mia recounted feeling trapped. She told the court how there was an unspoken understanding that disobedience could cost her more than just her job. The air around her words was chilling. She spoke of the isolation she felt, cut off from anyone who could offer help. She explained how working for someone like Diddy created an environment where his approval felt like life or death. Any refusal, she said, came with sharp consequences, whether direct or implied. She spoke of messages sent in looks, in tone, in silence. Through her testimony, vivid glimpses of the setting emerged. The dim lighting of the room, the echo of her own footsteps as she was led inside, the way her body tensed as his demeanor shifted from casual to threatening. She described freezing, both physically and mentally, as the assault took place, willing herself to believe it hadn't happened, even as it did. Fear had paralyzed her, she admitted, not just of him, but of the power he wielded, both in that room and far beyond it. Experts who study trauma often explain behaviors like this as coping mechanisms. Many survivors speak of disassociation, mentally detaching from the event to survive the moment. Mia's account reflected this, her voice sharpening when she described tears she didn't even realize were falling at the time. The human brain often protects itself by burying details until they grow too heavy to stay hidden. That's why, many argue, it can take years for victims to process and openly recount their experiences. The intensity of her words sank into the room like a heavy fog. Some courtroom observers visibly turned their faces, as though the details were physically difficult to hear. Others stared straight ahead, frozen by what she was unveiling. But all eyes eventually turned back to Diddy. His expression hovered between impassivity and discomfort. One reporter noted that he avoided looking at Mia, instead keeping his attention fixed firmly on the table in front of him. It wasn't clear if he was ignoring her or the weight of her story. This wasn't the first claim of this kind against Diddy, and for many, it painted a clearer picture of the dynamics at play in his world. Mia's testimony wasn't just about an individual moment. It hinted at a pattern, one of control, coercion, and unchecked power. But Mia's account didn't stop there. She wasn't only a victim, as we'd soon learn, she also carried the weight of what she had witnessed happen to others.
I know that there was a overlap of testimony regarding trying to intervene when Sean Combs allegedly was attacking Cassie. One of the few times we ever heard anybody do that, but that Mia tried to step in, he tried to step in, he mentioned Mia. Serena, we got a question here from Green Yoshi once again. Is there another color Yoshi? I gotta play Super Mario 3, I don't remember. All right, what is being done to protect the jury in terms of their identities post-trial?
That's a great question. A jury is, the people who are on this case might be nervous about something like that. Obviously, they were very well vetted. Questions were asked of them, and somehow they ended up on this jury as unbiased and willing participants, I guess. But there is always that fear that they're going to be found out. Sometimes people take advantage of that. They like to write about it, or they like to give interviews, but you don't have to. And it is a nerve-wracking thing if people find out who you are and you've been on this trial, because sometimes people are very upset at the eventual verdict.
One more question I'm going to throw to you, Tyler. This is from Enlin DK. Once again, if they're saying she's faking, meaning Mia, couldn't the same be said about Diddy? Where's the bling and ego?
Well, the bling is not on him. He's now a resident of a detention facility while he's pending trial. He hasn't taken a stand yet either to put himself up there and remind people that he is presumed innocent until he's found guilty by a jury. He does not have to present any evidence. It's up to the prosecution's job to present their case and get these criminal charges proved beyond a reasonable doubt. So if he does get on the stand, yes, they could say that Mr. Combs is acting. Now, there could be you could insinuate that the clothes that he's wearing, that people have described, they look somewhat like Bill Cosby as Mr. Huxtable, right, in the Cosby Show, versus the mere Sean Puffy Combs that people are used to. I could see that, but he's not on the stand here. He's sitting at the table as a defendant, trying to talk to his counsel about how they can discredit any witness that gets on the stand for the prosecution.
So, quick update from court. Judge, you can give it to them. Judge says you can give it to them for a couple minutes, bring Mia back in, then the jury, the witness enters, jury enters. Okay, Brian Steele asks, what is the Breakfast Club? Mia says, the name of our camp, Puff's friend group, still partying at breakfast. I was invited in once.
They said random people earlier. They may not be trying to show their whole hand here. If Mr. Combs knows Mia clearly, so he knows how she acted when she was with him versus how she's acting now. The defense has offices, and they have associates and other people who are on the outside who could be investigating, trying to collect evidence that could be used to help Mr. Combs in real time. Now, do I think somebody there is a plant who's a reporter or something helping the defense? No, but this is a high-profile case. She's testifying. To think that there aren't people on the outside who will have interest in this case, whether as associates, employees of either side of this case, would be foolish.
Got a question from Laya. This is a question for you, Serena. Did Mia get exposed?
Yeah, it's possible. And again, it's very scary if so, because everyone's trying to protect this woman and she deserves that protection and privacy. But as we've been saying, it is still a somewhat public trial. There are going to be not only people in the courtroom, but online sleuths. I mean, even the court drawing, though her face is blurred out, we can tell her race, we can tell her hair color, we can tell her stature. And, there are probably going to be people, maybe not in Diddy's inner circle, but maybe even in the second or third degree circle, who know who this woman is. And so to think that she has complete anonymity in today's day and age with, online sleuthing and just the ability to find things out about people, it's just so easy today. So I do think that someone figured out who she was.
I'll get a question from Melissa Budas. This is for you, Tyler. Didn't the previous witness, the stylist, so Deontay Nash, confirm a lot of Mia's testimony?
Oh, he confirmed a lot of her testimony, and everybody that the prosecution is calling as witness, their testimony is meant to build on each other. Think about the witnesses that led up to Kid Cudi testifying. Then you had Deontay Nash who testified a couple days ago, and now Mia who's testifying now. So the prosecution is not calling witnesses, and they're going to be surprised at what they say. They have an idea of what they're going to say, and they want to present this case methodically in a way they want. That's the whole point of planning for trial and presenting your case in a way that's going to be effective.
Mia's testimony didn't end with her own experiences. She told the court that she had witnessed Diddy's aggressive and violent behavior toward others, including a chilling incident involving Cassie, whose real name is Cassandra Ventura. As Mia recounted this particular moment, the atmosphere in the courtroom grew even heavier, the details painting a vivid picture of the dynamic between Diddy and Cassie, a relationship already shadowed by public speculation about its toxic undercurrents. Mia said the event happened during a private gathering at one of Diddy's homes. The night appeared normal at first, filled with music, subdued lighting, and the usual entourage moving in and out of rooms. But things quickly escalated. According to Mia, Diddy and Cassie began arguing in front of a small group. The argument's exact trigger wasn't clear, but Mia described how Diddy's tone became sharper and more aggressive with every passing second. Then came what Mia described as a violent physical outburst. She testified that Diddy struck Cassie with an open hand, the sound enough to silence the room. Cassie stumbled backward and clasped her face, visibly shaken. The silence that followed was deafening. No one in the room, Mia included, moved to intervene. Mia said the energy shifted entirely after that moment, with everyone avoiding eye contact and retreating into corners as though pretending it hadn't happened. Afterward, Mia described Cassie's condition as withdrawn, her face marked with the imprint of what had just occurred. Cassie, she said, quietly wiped at her cheeks, and went to another room without saying a word. It was as if the entire group had silently agreed to press forward, as though an event like this was just another unspoken secret to add to the growing pile. For Mia, the incident was a breaking point in realizing just how serious the dynamics in this inner circle were. She spoke about the helplessness she felt, not just for herself, but for those around her. Watching it unfold was one thing, but living with the memory and the guilt of staying silent because she feared retaliation was another. Witnessing violence firsthand had left its own scars. Bystander trauma is a well-documented phenomenon, with studies showing that witnessing abuse can leave individuals feeling powerless, anxious, and even complicit. Mia acknowledged this during her testimony, describing how the weight of what she saw made her question her role in the environment she'd worked so hard to break into. For the court, this account brought layers to Mia's testimony. It wasn't just about her experiences. It was about a pattern, something systemic, that extended beyond a single victim. By including her observations of Diddy's treatment of Cassie, she added credibility to her claims and reinforced the image of Diddy as a man who operated in a world where control and silence were the currency. This was no isolated incident, at least not according to Mia. and her testimony showed that the walls Diddy had built to protect his reputation were slowly starting to crack. The next piece of her story, though, would push this even further, revealing how his alleged influence extended far beyond just the people in his orbit.
Mia, and she introduced herself to the jury here by saying that Sean Combs had sexually assaulted her. She hasn't testified about it yet. Instead, she's talking about times she said she witnessed violence against Cassie Ventura, the time she said Combs slammed her head against a bed and drew blood and left a gash in Cassie Ventura's eyebrow, the time they attended a party against Combs' wishes at Prince's house when they danced on plexiglass covering the pool Prince performed, but then Combs arrived, chased them down, and was about to attack Cassie when she said Prince's security intervened. She also, this woman Mia, gave the jury a sense of what it was like to be his personal assistant.
What I find more troubling and less likely is if this video is being sent by random people on the internet, and that's what they want to proffer as evidence in this criminal trial, I find that hard to be admitted. If they could track the video from one person who could confirm the identity of the person, and then it could be used for impeachment evidence, that's different. But random people on the internet sending videos, that opens the door to a can of worms.
Well, I mean, Tyler, they would have to authenticate it, make sure it's real, and couldn't they theoretically be able to use it?
They could theoretically be able to use it, but it seems like they're trying to use it right now when Mia's going to get put back on the stand. I haven't heard of any witness to authenticate this video yet. They're just talking about displaying this video. That's what seems to be a little odd to me.
The first time she met Combs, she said he was in his underwear. And then the first day on the job, she said she didn't sleep because she was made to go to his house, to his recording studio, to an apartment. She also said that she worked sometimes 5 days in a row without sleep and was made to do everything from anticipating his moods to cracking his knuckles to doing his taxes to standing there 22 hours a day doing nothing.
Mia's testimony took an unexpected turn when she revealed one of the most unsettling claims of the trial. Beyond the physical and emotional abuse she alleged, she asserted that Diddy's influence extended to law enforcement itself. She described how his status, wealth, and connections allowed him to act without fear of consequences. His name alone, she testified, was enough to make problems disappear. The courtroom leaned in as Mia recounted instances where she believed his influence over authorities acted as a shield, ensuring that nothing and no one stood in his way. Mia shared a story of a specific encounter to back up her claim. She recounted an instance where the police were called to one of Diddy's properties after an altercation involving loud shouting and what neighbors described as distressing sounds. According to Mia, when officers arrived, they were ushered in through the front doors, only to leave again shortly after speaking with Diddy privately. No arrests were made, no citations issued. To those present, Mia testified the message was clear. Authority figures weren't there to serve justice. They were there to uphold the illusion of peace for the man in charge. It wasn't something openly discussed, but in Diddy's circle it was understood that few dared to challenge or even question him. The idea of a celebrity wielding influence over law enforcement isn't without precedent. In cases involving powerful figures, there's a long history of claims that fame can buy leniency or even outright immunity. Historical examples range from old Hollywood stars being shielded from DUIs to more modern cases where allegations of misconduct vanish after private settlements. Legal experts note this imbalance often stems from the fear of targeting wealthy individuals who can afford drawn-out legal battles or sway public opinion. It builds a culture where certain names seem untouchable, and if Mia's account is true, Diddy lounged comfortably within this reality for years. Mia also recalled a chilling phrase Diddy allegedly told members of his staff, "The cops work for me, not the other way around." She admitted that at first the comment struck her as bravado, something said in jest to assert his dominance. But over the years, she said, she came to realize it wasn't a joke at all. It was a warning. His money, influence, and connections made him powerful enough to bend systems designed to hold others accountable. And if that were true, Mia's fear of speaking out, even long after she left his employment, becomes far more understandable. The implications of this claim are staggering. If Diddy exerted the level of control Mia described, the idea of justice becomes murky. Could police officers, sworn to protect, become silent enablers? And how would this revelation resonate beyond this case, landing in an industry already brimming with allegations of power gone unchecked? As the courtroom absorbed Mia's words, it became clear her testimony wasn't just about one man. It was a glimpse into how systems can falter, leaving victims like Mia to fend for themselves. Mia's testimony has done more than detail disturbing allegations. It's exposed the fragility of the systems that allowed someone like Diddy to remain untouchable for so long. From her personal trauma to her accounts of unchecked violence and alleged influence over law enforcement, her words paint a sobering picture of power used to silence. These revelations go beyond one man. They force us to question how celebrity culture protects the few at the expense of many. As the courtroom waits for its next turn, one thing is clear. This case represents a critical moment for accountability, both for Diddy and the entire industry.